How you doing, everybody? My name is Michael Zapsik. I'm from AMC's Comic Book Man, and you're listening to iWalter.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to do a show again, but I felt like I'm going to try because I do have things I have to do to get back into work. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I'm actually already back at work. No, there's certain things too. I have certain things I have to meet still at my job, which is basically getting some paperwork from two different doctors for restrictions to continue as it was when I had left work. So I got until June, though. That's the only thing that's really nice. And I figured this week it's really hectic. I actually still making sure my levels are okay. And if I haven't mentioned it, I apologize. I think I did, but it is actually March 17th at this point, 2016, just to let people know. And it is in the morning hours because I get done at work. I don't get home until 1 o'clock, so I could grab something to eat real quick in the house. I'm actually trying to kind of follow some stuff my friend Matt would have told me in the past, like when he's on his diet. The things you want to kind of avoid, obviously, is a lot of sugar, and which is not going to happen with me, unfortunately. I have cut back a bit, except right now I'm going to pour some Coke. But I made some tuna fish tonight. Now, the mayonnaise is bad for you. And I had pickles. Sorry, I just bumped my mic. But the thing you want to stay away from is your starches. That's the things that put on a lot of weight, especially at this time in the early morning hours. And I'm trying. I really am. I'm determined. And for like lunch today, all I actually had was a small sandwich from, I'm trying to think, Dairy Queen. My mother got it for me. It was a, what do you call it? I want to say a sloppy Joe, but it's a barbecue sandwich. And those things aren't that big at all. They're really tiny. And I know all about tiny. So there was that I had, and then tonight I've been drinking water, and I had a protein drink for the rest of the day, and then just now I ate something because when I get home I just want a little something so stomach's not growling all night, because that will happen. So it's been hard, I'll tell you that much. Again, my weakness is a lot of, not as much, but a lot of soda in the past, and also sweetened iced tea. I remember there was some girl I knew years ago. She actually got me interested, I should say, and I did do it, of drinking unsweetened iced tea. And now that's kind of stopped, obviously. When you stop drinking and eating a lot of junky food, you actually don't have the cravings that much. I mean, once in a while they do come back, but probably, if you do it correctly, you won't want that. You want something that's a little bit more healthier to eat or drink. So I have to give it, I've said this before with Matt, that, it's really hard. I don't know how he does it, but he's stuck with his diet, and he looks really good, so I want to mention that again. So anyway, I'm not too sure what I wanted to talk about, but then I saw tonight, this was the thing, I still am not fully up and running at work. I actually still had my badge not working today when I went to work at 4 o'clock or 3:45. So that was a real hassle. And that being said, I parked at some, they're called guard gates, and it was kind of a walk to my building. And I said, hey, you got it fixed right before I had to start work. But I figured I'm just going to keep my car parked where it is right now. because what if it stops working again? Because, like, they fixed it one time, 2 times, it's now Thursday morning, 3 times, and it always stopped working. It's like, I'm not taking this chance of, oh, yeah, we fixed your card, it works now. We have badges we have to come in with. And then have it turn around, and I have to, end up walking half a mile anyway. Whatever, not that far, but you probably get the gist of what I'm talking about. So I didn't want to deal with that again, and bottom line was I parked, and it was kind of a little bit of a hike tonight, but nothing that severe. So, and I'm kind of, glad it wasn't too cold out. I guess the temperature, my mother told me when I came in that it was supposed to be dropping every day again. We might even get snow in the near future. But, hey, there's a reason. March is always called, like, crazy March, because the reason for that is one day could be really nice out, the next day it could snow, the next day it could be hot. It's just March is always one of those really wacky months that the weather's all over the place. I apologize. I see my levels going up and down. I'm trying to get at a good spot. And honestly, I wish I knew a little bit more about these. What I wanted to go into tonight, when I was at work, after the first day or two, I had no internet access through work because I'm still trying to get that approved that I can get back on our intranet, and I haven't been approved yet. They try to put it through tonight, though. Again, sorry about bumping my lips on the mics. It's going to be all over the place, the levels. So this is going to be on the 4th day when I go back to work this afternoon. But that being said, I brought this box set of that TV show called Hogan's Heroes, and I actually went through the first 2 seasons within the last couple days. I mean, you're talking, well, let's see, Monday, Tuesday, and then now Wednesday's passed. So that was 8 hours a day, excluding about 2 the first day, trying to get checked back in, possibly 3. But you're still talking 16, not 24, about 20 hours of doing nothing, and nothing really getting accomplished. I can't do anything until I get checked back in and everything gets approved. Now, they haven't pushed me too much. I'm glad about that because I'm surprised they haven't said anything yet. But that's like 20-some hours of me just watching Hogan's Heroes, and I'm glad I brought those. But before I did that, I was actually watching some movie. It was pretty bad. It was on HBO Go. And you know what? I can't even remember the name of it. I'm going to have to look it up because I think I have it on my computer here too. At least I hope I do. I know the one at work now has HBO Go. And it was some movie I was watching on there. I don't even know the name. It was some horror movie. Another one of these Blair Witch kind of style ones. And for once, it was like actually one I just really did not like that much at all. It was a little bit interesting. It was about these kids who put on a play and how the play becomes haunted because somebody gets killed. They were doing some play. I can't remember the name of the movie, though. Where the person gets killed, they were pretending that he was going to get noosed. And for some reason, he got noosed for real on stage while they were putting on this play. And it was like supposed to be at some high school. So his spirit kind of stayed behind and haunted anybody who, would go and put on that play again, which they didn't for years, and then they decided to do it. I actually have HBO Go in front of me, so I might see if I can get it without having to go through the whole gist of logging in and everything like that. If I see it, I'll mention it in the next second or so. Now, one I did really like, they're actually sending me stuff if I'm interested in buying it still. Let me turn up I still don't hear myself. See if this... Okay. Okay, I just turned off my mic. I apologize. Yeah, stupid me. But yeah, there was one movie. Okay, yeah, my levels are good. So you're going to hear a little bit of a dead spot. I apologize about that, folks. See, I was moving my mic around, and there's a switch on my mic, and I turned it off for a second. I'm not going to try to attempt to fix it. I think it was less than 10 seconds. But there was one movie I saw on HBO Go, and it was called As Above, So Below. Now, that's another Blair Witch style movie, but I said the other day that was really good. Annabelle's on this list of horror movies you can see. Now, I thought that was pretty good. I remember the one that my mom was watching. I think I almost jumped through the ceiling. So I've been kind of back and forth. Cabin Fever's on there. I think I ended up renting it before I even realized they had it. The new one, the new Cabin Fever, which I thought was horrible. And here I couldn't wait any longer, so I ended up renting it, paying $4, $5 to rent it. I could have got it on HBO Go for free. Okay, I'm sorry about that. And there was another one I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. It was Ouija Board. It had its interesting moments. But the one I watched last night, and I hope I get this pronunciation right, was called The Gallows. And it was all right. It wasn't one of my top picked horror movies. But these are all movies that you can get if you have HBO. My parents pay for it. I can get, take advantage of that and get HBO. Just put in what my cable network my parents have. It checks to make sure I have it. And when it sees I do, or, because I'm basically under my parents', what do you call it, internet anyway. It doesn't mean you don't have to be hooked to that internet service, but you can still take advantage of using it by just having an email account and stuff, which I do through my parents. So that was pretty cool. But that actually, now I have what's called a T-Mobile hotspot, and I think I caught them in a lie about that, which is no shock. Now I have Verizon hotspot on my phone, and I have to have it because I have a smartphone. Now, honestly, now that because I have both, I have a T-Mobile hotspot, and I got 12 gigs a month high-speed internet on my phone for my iPhone from Verizon. Now, Verizon brags how we're so much better than everybody else. Yeah, for the phone service, they're really good. You will not get any better than Verizon. Their internet is excellent. Their cable is really, really good. I like all of them. I have never had a complaint about that, but their Wi-Fi is probably the worst I've ever seen. I'm not just saying this; it's the truth. Because even when I'm away, I have to bring the T-Mobile hotspot because I'm not guaranteed to get high-speed internet with Verizon. They say you might be able to get, and sometimes you don't even get internet service. Period. With Verizon. Now I got the 12 gigs a month because it was a special deal. They have new plans now. Now, I'm still under a contract because I'm still paying on the phone because I got this phone for half of what it would have cost buying it outright. But I actually picked a plan that was supposed to be cheaper, and you get more because it was I think it was $10 cheaper than I was paying, but you get more data on your plans, which didn't make any sense to me. But what they're trying to do, they stopped, because everybody else does this now, all these other phone services, they stopped giving you a contract. Now, I'm still under a contract because I'm still paying on the phone, but they technically said Verizon ended all contracts. They no longer give you a contract. When you buy a phone, you're not under an obligated contract. Now, there is ways you can still get them, but they made it that you don't have to have a contract. Which is kind of stupid because, if you can't buy the phone outright, you're going to be on a contract. It's just the way they worded it. They say, we cut all contracts. They really technically didn't. Now, when I had T-Mobile, you didn't have a contract from day one. Now, you were paying on the phone. If you didn't pay your phone back, then you had to pay whatever. And you say, hey, I want to leave T-Mobile, you're not going to get penalized, but you will be forced to pay whatever you owe on that device. And I think that's the same with Sprint and everything. But that's the only reason Verizon had to have this whole word game. Now, Verizon, again, I've had even Sprint, which, some people claim that you do get unlimited internet, broadband and stuff, but I don't know, because they say that, but there's always that fine line that they don't tell you about. So just to let you know, they say, oh yeah, you get unlimited everything, but you really don't. You really don't. So anyway, I've been at work the last 3 days now. I'll make sure I open the story I wanted to read. For the last 3 days now, I just didn't really have much to do, and I thought, well, at least I could probably get on the internet. But once I get access to our intranet, I'm going to have to start doing all this paperwork, reading online. It's all, you used to actually physically get papers you had to read through or sit through these lectures. You no longer do that. You do it at your own pace within amount of time, though. They say it's, but you have to read through all this paperwork, and once you're done, but it's all on a monitor, and you have to log into it. And that way, they automatically, once you finish reading all this paperwork online, you check it off, and it goes right to HR or whatever, and you get approved that, okay, yeah, you've done, you're under the understanding you've done this, that, and other thing. Which then you can go, start your job again, whatever. And that's going to be for quite a while until I get called up. I mentioned this yesterday. So I don't even have that access. The only person who did was who's officially my manager. It's a woman. She only works certain days on second shift, and I had to make sure to catch her. And she put it through for the approval for me to get to intranet. So once I get that, I'll be able to do more, because I can also hook up my own personal devices, my iPad and my personal computer. I can hook that all up and use their internet and get like real broadband. But since I couldn't do that the last couple days, and plus, do what I'm supposed to do, obviously that comes first. But, what am I going to do? I was there for 20-some hours with nothing to do besides I had a personal desk, which was still there. I think I mentioned that yesterday. So I figured, you know what, I think it'd probably be a good idea. Normally I say this stuff and I forget, but I didn't forget this time. I brought this big box set I just bought. It just came out, actually, less than a week ago. They re-released Hogan's Heroes with all the seasons on DVD, and it was at a cheaper price, because they've done that in the past on these box sets of the whole entire series, but it costs like, I think, $80, $100, whatever. They had it on, re-released it for $59. And I think I have an Amazon Prime account. So it ended up only costing me no shipping cost, probably a little bit of tax, and that was about it. And me, my luck, I probably had some money saved up on the side from Amazon. I buy everything off of Amazon, even like personal goods, toothpaste and stuff. I will end up buying it, because certain toothpaste I use are actually cheaper on, if I buy it from Amazon Prime than would be getting it at home. So that's the only other reason I do it. Wow. Sorry, some friend just had posted. You think he would be in bed. He put it up an hour ago, but he obviously lies when he goes to bed. That's another one of my pet peeves. Oh, don't call me at a certain time because I'm going to be in bed by then. And it's like, you're still awake after 1 o'clock. But he put something up, and it says from Costa Rica or something? I don't know. Because it says Costa Interstates, and these girls are beating the crap out of this girl. And then they're using a knife to cut her hair off. So, shared to locate these two women, basically humiliate a pity that they are like that with these people. Yeah, now they're tearing like this girl's clothes off too. They're slapping her. They're holding her. They got a knife to cut her hair off, and now they're smacking around. I don't know what the reason for this was. So it's a young girl too. They're all young girls. And it's not from this country. So, but yet he gets mad if I call him my one friend, which I use loosely almost. But, don't call me after 11. I'm going to be in bed. I don't want you to wake me up. And he's up until 2, 3 in the morning. So it's a little bit of a hypocrisy there. It gets me pissed off. So, the last couple of days, this is what I was trying to get at. I was, at work, and it was like nothing to do. And even streaming that movie. Now, that was the thing. T-Mobile says, you're streaming of video streaming of movies or TV shows. They said we were not going to take away from your data plan. They said you can stream all you want from any media place that shows, there's different ones, but the ones people know about are like YouTube, Netflix, because YouTube shows movies too. Anything that has, and I used HBO Go, well, it ate up all my data for the month. And I normally don't even hardly use my data, and I actually had saved up data as well for the past couple months, and they said, oh, you have 7 gigs a month, on your plan. You get unlimited. It just slows down your bandwidth. And then plus I had another 7 gigs, which I never even touched. So I went through part of that, but it got so slow I barely get even a connection anymore. So it's beyond slow. So I actually was going to look into it and say maybe I should just bump it up because I think this is going to be an issue for a while until they get me up and running again. And, I can always change it. That's the nice thing about T-Mobile. You can up it 1 month. If you don't really need all that extra data, you can kind of push it back down again. But that whole thing of unlimited data is a bunch of BS because they slow you down so much you can't even use it. And then plus I had what was called data stash. If you don't use it for the month before, whatever's left over, it's like rollover minutes that Singular used to have. Well, the problem is their rollover is god-awful slow. So it should be, if I didn't use all my broadband minutes for the month before, they should let me use it the next month. That's probably too many people are taking advantage of it. They're probably like stacking up the data plan and then trying to use it all at once. But obviously T-Mobile at first, because I remember I used it before where I stashed up a bunch of data for a couple months. So when I went on vacation, I didn't have it slowing down at all. It was like fast my whole vacation. If it was like a week long, I had like a week's worth of data on T-Mobile. But that changed. Once you go through your monthly plan, if you have backed up data, it's not going to be the same speed as what you were getting on, what you paid for that month. Meaning that if you had, like I didn't use my 7 gigs from last month, and I decided, well, okay, I got 14 gigs now, 7 gigs from last month, that would roll over to this month, and then 7 gigs for this month would give me 14 gigs. Well, once you go for your monthly, your backed up data that you did not use is not going to be much faster at all. It's going to take a dive, trust me. I found out. So, you're talking 20-some hours, and trust me, those 3 days I've been, first day and a half, it was great because I actually had it on for the full 8 hours, almost 2 days in a row. I had it on for at least the first 16 hours at work, where I was just basically using, my T-Mobile. And it was great. It was really fast. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm on the internet at home. It was so fast. But then it took a nosedive. It stopped almost. And it gives you like spurts where you can get maybe a little bit, maybe your email, if you wait long enough or download your email. You barely can open up any pages. So here I just figured, well, I'm done. I'm just going to pay ahead of time for the month to give me some more data. And it says, well, they're not going to increase my speed at this point. It doesn't make a difference. They said they're not going to increase my speed until the end of the month. Even though I did pay the bill for this month, they're still going to keep me at this slow rate. So the thing was, then I have, which I rarely even use that, but it was a cheaper plan. I actually literally saved, I think, $10 or $20 with my Verizon service by going with a higher data rate plan. It was cheaper than the lower data rate plan. So the bottom line, it was a no-brainer. Why would I pay more money for less data, a smaller data plan, when I can pay less money and get more data? It only makes sense. So, that's why I'm at where I'm at now. And the thing was, though, this is where I was going to say about Verizon, though. I'm seeing if I haven't done that in a while. Maybe I'll do this. I'll give you the geological locations or where people are listening to me to. But Verizon, I can barely use my 12 gigs a month because the service, they say they have 4G, though, is so slow. It's so incredibly slow. I could barely, like, if you're just streaming music or podcast or like my Rush Limbaugh shows, I'll stream those. that's fine because it doesn't really ask for that much. But if you try to stream a network or, some type of web page watching YouTube, forget it. Verizon's horrible. It's like dog shit. Now, if you use the T-Mobile for their data plan, like their phone service really sucks though. But if you use it for data plan and you keep at their broadband of their 4G, by far, I would have to say that T-Mobile is the best. You won't get any better than T-Mobile. But I don't have anything until the end of the month now with their data plan. I've sucked through all my data plan. Their slow speed is about the same as Verizon. So but at this point, I have two plans, and they both equally suck. Now, one, I have data left. I got like 8 gigs left of data for the month. I can't use it because it's too fucking slow. I'm just going to look at my T-Mobile now, if I can. Because I was trying to do this at work, and the service was so slow, I couldn't do it. So, by far, like I said, let me just do one more thing. Sorry about that. T-Mobile is by far the best if you want a data plan. You're gonna, if you keep it at a broadband, like you get like enough minutes to keep your broadband going, you're definitely well off by doing that. Because I'm looking at it now, it says data plan threshold line for my number used all gigabytes of the 7 gigabytes high-speed data, including your T-Mobile monthly data plan. You will experience reduced speeds until April 10th, 2016. So I paid my bill for the month ahead of time, and they're still going to keep me. They're like punishing me now until April 10th. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, I used 7.58 of the high speed, but I still had minutes left, and they're not sticking to their word on that thing. So, yeah, and then I've seen if I could get a better data plan, maybe just to kind of end this horror, and it's even coming up at home. It definitely came up at work where it says, we are currently having trouble with your request. Please wait a few minutes and try again. I've been trying it all night of trying to change my data plan to maybe a little bit more until, I get everything back to normal at work. So anyway, that's the bottom line. But what I was doing, though, thank goodness, I had brought in, again, all these Hogan's Heroes. I bought the whole series, and if it wasn't for that, I would have been pulling my hair out because there was nothing else to do. So, still. Anyway, since I said I was going to read this, because I threw this in last second from Spreaker, for anybody who may be interested, most of my listeners, not that many, I'm still getting a lot of people who listen to the Milo thing that I did. But United States is pretty much almost 100% of my listeners. Very small percentage. I forget some other country. I don't know if it was France or what, but they kind of dropped off now. They lost interest altogether in me. Argentina is only 0.5%, which means somebody accidentally stumbled upon my show. My highest rating, say, Coatesville, PA, so I don't know why that's like a large percentage. Then the second is Philadelphia, which is 14%. Then Cunchy is 9.4%. Sellersville is 6%. Telford, PA is 4.7%. Norristown is only 2.7%. Allentown, PA is 2.7%. Delaware is 0.7%, which means somebody stumbled upon it accidentally. And then somewhere in Argentina is only 0.7%. Now, even though that's being said, I mean, these are people who probably just stumble upon it. They don't really listen to the show in grave detail. The show I did with my friend Matt, that got actually 30 hits. So that could be me and him checking out a couple times. Milo actually had taken a jump. Now, again, I told my friend Matt, I haven't looked into it yet. There's statistics to tell you how long somebody's been listening for. But Milo went up to 248 listeners for that one particular episode I did. So that's really cool. I will try to look at it right now. I'm not sure how you go into that. It says playlist, likes, sources. I think they do. Well, actually, that would be YouTube is where they've seen the one for Milo most likely. And even though it's a podcast, they will see it on YouTube most likely. So that being said, though, there is a thing on YouTube, if I would dig into there, which I promise I won't do now, they will actually tell you how long somebody has, focused or listened or watched whatever you do on YouTube. There is a thing that does that. Why I actually really wanted to do a show tonight, because I actually do got to, go to bed at a decent time. Doing these shows aren't going to do that for me. So I can make doctor's appointments. So that'll be a day I won't be doing a show, obviously. But it was an article caught my eye from the morning call. I was, bleeding through what I could get, which was really, slow, on Facebook articles that I could, post on my Facebook page and read them later on. So there was one from this newspaper called The Morning Call, and it says, how to vote in PA primary election, what you need to know. So it was like, wow. So the most important thing from this article, though, was it's on Tuesday, April 26th, is for us in Pennsylvania when we can vote for whoever we want for the Republican Party to run in, the election this year, because you do cast a vote, and who you want to run for a Democrat, who would you want to run for president on the Democratic side. So obviously this, I never casted a vote, I don't think, or I should say an absentee ballot for the primary ever before that I know of. But this year I'm definitely going to make sure to do so on April 26th. So that was my main thing I wanted to kind of bring about and talk about. Now, my one friend, I have a couple negative things to say about him, and I probably will mention that, my friend Todd, but he did post something. I think he was just trying to put, I don't know if he read the article. I actually watched the video, and I did read the article, and it kind of got me scared because he posted something from Fox 43 News, and it says, man's Facebook post lands him a visit from an officer and a citation. So he was obviously he was trying to stir me up a little bit by getting me scared, like you got to watch what you put on Facebook because you can get yourself in trouble. And for what he was making videos, because it said like this guy was making videos, he got in trouble for what he posted on Facebook. Well, the point is when you look into it and not just try to do it to scare somebody, what happened was this guy was shooting shortcuts to his house. He made like short videos, and he said, yeah, these are really cool to put on Facebook. The problem was he didn't take notice, but somebody reported him then, where when he was shooting this video from his car, like, hey, here's a shortcut through this development you can take to your house, my house, or his house, somebody who lives in his neighborhood could, there's a nice shortcut you can cut through this development, which I know they do in our development. They take a shortcut through our development at high speeds, though. So why he got a ticket was because when he was filming, or not filming, but you know what I mean, he was shooting the video on his phone, he actually went through a stop sign, and somebody flagged the police in his area. He's like, hey, look, this guy was filming this video, and he went through a stop sign when he was doing it. They reported him to the police, so he got a traffic violation. He got a citation for that. Not because he put up something offensive, but because he was basically, it was a dumb not even luck, but it was a dumb mistake he made. And somebody was an idiot enough to, report him to the police. Obviously, somebody who probably didn't appreciate the guy, because that's what happened to me before. If somebody really doesn't like you, they're going to find ways to get you in trouble. Trust me, I know that way too well. So that was interesting. I mean, the whole gist was, I guess, that, and I think my friend just does that to get me a little bit pissed off. Now, why I said, my friend Todd, because I want to make this clarified, I usually try to keep people's names out, but if I don't, my friend Matt thinks I'm talking about him. Matt, no offense to you, but I want to make this clear that I'm not talking about you. It's Todd. And I generally this is why I don't like to mention names, but it seems when I don't, then it's just makes certain people, Matt, it might make you stir crazy, so I'm mentioning Todd. But one thing that really got me upset the past couple of weeks with Todd was, I've been off for 6 months, and Todd always dodged every phone call. He never calls me back. He just ignores me all the time. And then when he does pick up the phone or say, hey, can you stop by here, give me like last minute notice, and why it is because nobody else wants to be bothered by him. And his days off are awkward. And now that he's moving, he even pointed this out a while back. He says, well, maybe you can come up right before I do my last move, and you can help clean my apartment up. And it's like, well, you know what? No offense, that's not going to happen anymore. And the last weekend, he got me kind of pissed off. He was being half-heartedly joking, my friend Todd. But me and Matt, was that last weekend, I think, me and Matt, we went to a concert Saturday night. Matt drove and everything, which was great. I really do appreciate it again. But we got home, not real late, but we got home a little bit late. And then, you have to unwind. I felt bad for Matt because you work during the days. You work every day practically, and then plus you're going to school. But I get this call, thank God I turned off my phone, from my friend Todd, who miraculously, he was supposed to start moving from his apartment to his new location. He has to relocate. And he calls me out of the whim to say, yeah, well, my driver kind of stuck me for my ride to pick up a move-in van, and now, I need somebody. And he said I don't really, one of those deals, I don't expect you to do it, but boy, if you could come up here, it'd be great to help me move. But I'm not, trying to get you all upset and everything. It's like, dude, I called him for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Listen, I'm going to be hanging out with Matt, my friend Matt. We're going to a concert Saturday night. And plus, it was daylight savings time last Sunday morning, early in the morning hours at 2 or something. You're out, you lose an hour of sleep. And then he expects me to, get up in the crack of dawn for him, which I had my phone off, and yet he gets mad if I would do something like that, to run an hour away. He lives in Lancaster, to help him, get situated to pick up his moving car because he got stood up. It's like, well, if, for one thing, fuck you, I'm not going to do it because, one, it was, early in the morning. Now, he told me, I don't expect you to do that, but the way you kind of said it, it was like half-heartedly joking, but you probably had a little bit of truth that you were hoping I would help you move. I can't drop everything at on a dime when and be at your beck and call. I'm basically put in the closet until you need me, and then you take me out, just to use me, is what it felt like. I don't care if he said he was joking or not. It felt like I was being used. And it's the same thing. I'll call him. I've done this before. I call him a million times. He doesn't return one of my calls, and then he comes up with a poor excuse. This is Todd. Yeah, I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I have a lot else on my plate. Yeah, and you find out later it's goofing off on Facebook, taxi driving his parents around. Heaven forbid, his parents have problems right now. His father had a stroke and everything like that. But I told him, and it was like crickets in the room when I for a response. I said, "Oh yeah, my mother, she fell down the steps." Never a word. But then when something happens to his parents, he leaves me 12 messages in every minute detail and a progress report how his dad's doing. It's like, my mother fell down a fucking flight of steps and you give two shits, and then I'm supposed to have all this sympathy for you when your father has a stroke. Well, my mother could have broke her fucking neck, and you don't care. You never return any of my calls. You have no interest in me. And I remember my friend Todd said years ago where he literally admitted, he said there was some guy who tried to be friends with Todd. And he said, well, I just took advantage of the guy because the guy was desperate for a friend. And he said, I just kind of used him. He openly admitted he used the guy. And it's like, well, you do that with everybody though, dude. Including me. You take advantage of the fact that I'm your friend, and you ignore me 99% of the time until you need a favor done, and then all of a sudden you start talking to me. Now, that's not always the case, but it's something that's been in this relationship as a friend from years ago, because I remember I told Matt about this. years ago, and it's continued. So a real friend, there's that old saying, a friend in need is a friend indeed, which means a person who only uses you for favors is not really a friend at all. That's the bottom line. So I just needed to vent about that. I was going to actually mention that last night on last night's show because I didn't expect to do another one today until I saw about that election thing. And it was like, you know what? I'm going to throw this in the niche about Todd today. And again, Matt, if you're listening, it's not to try to attack you. I just wanted to, that's why when you hear me not mention a person's name, I do it for a reason. It's just to keep their person's name out of the loop. But I only got like 13 listeners, so who really gives a crap if I mention a name or not? I usually do it just for the sake of protecting that person. Just in case somebody would listen that I don't want them to listen or hear that person's name. And again, if it's out of me speaking out of a fit of anger or me being upset with a person, I still honestly don't like using her name. I used it in this case, so Matt, you don't have to ask me. But the reason I don't mention a person's name, because what if somebody that since I mentioned Matt's name, if I said something about Matt and somebody listens that knows Matt, they'll go back and tell him. If I keep his name out of the loop, for one thing, and it might be something that they may not find offensive, but they might find it funny, and it's like, well, listen, I'm not trying to say something to be funny. I'm trying to say something just to vent myself. And, it's just, again, it would be, if using Matt as an example, I'm sorry about that, Matt, but to protect you by not mentioning your name, even though you would figure it out if I'm talking about you without mentioning your name, if that would be the case, or, just protect you in case somebody would listen that I'd rather not them know my business and your business, since I mentioned in Matt. If there's an argument between you and me, now I'm talking about Matt, I don't want anybody else to know who I'm talking about. I want it only to be me, and if he figures it out or asks me about it, that's a different story. But I don't like putting the name in there, because that's why. This time I said Todd's name, my friend Todd. So anyway, I'm done with that. So I apologize for just going off on that. And it was another one of those hectic days at work that, even though there's nothing going on, just that little bit of like high school behavior that continues to go on at that place. I heard from a friend, and again, this is one time I can't mention the person's name. Nobody would know who it is. But if anybody listens to work, that got me upset. A friend told me today, my one friend, she said, she called me right before work, and it was like, okay, I'll pick up. I wanted to talk to her. She said somebody that we both have a little bit of a problem with at our job, who just basically, me and my one friend, we have a problem with this coworker that she doesn't work with directly, except lately she was, before I came back, about this coworker who's a habitual liar. And we, both of us called her and this other person, it's a woman, and a lot of lies. Well, she said that, she came out with it because she tells me stuff, my one friend, that really I shouldn't listen to, I shouldn't be told because it's confidential, but she kind of drags it out of supervisors and stuff. But she said, this one person we don't like at work, me and this one friend at work. Again, it probably won't make any sense to people, but again, I got to protect the people I talk about. I could make up bogus names, but then I'll confuse myself. But she said today on the phone, she said, oh, yeah, this one person we both don't like because she lies all the time, this one coworker, she's been getting in trouble. She's been outside the gates for hours on end. I called her on the way in when I was talking to my one friend on the phone. Heading into work, I saw this one particular woman leaving the gates before her shift was over, like at least a half an hour before her shift was done. She was outside the gates. And she wasn't even going outside. Like, you're allowed to leave the gates of where I work if you want to go for a cigarette break. But she didn't even go that far. She went beyond that distance. I think she went over to her car. And I don't know what she was doing in there, but I don't even want to know about it. But I heard she's been out of the gates for hours on end. You're not allowed to be out of our gates where I work because it's a plant site for no more, even for your lunch or dinner break, depending which shift you work, for no more than 30 minutes. And you're definitely not allowed out of the gates right before you're going home, a half an hour before you go home, just to goof off. So apparently she does that a lot. But that wasn't the thing that got to me. She actually told me today, my friend, she said this one woman we don't like had gotten a 15-day suspension because she's gotten so much trouble. And this is in the period of time that I've been out. She'd gotten even more trouble, and I was out for 6 months. And they said that, now they wouldn't do this for me. A suspension means you don't get paid for 15 days. It starts out, you get a 1-day suspension. Then you get a 2-day suspension. I didn't know it goes up to 15 days. Maybe it's 1 day, then it's like a week or 2 weeks, whatever. But when you get up to, if she's telling the truth, my friend, she said she got a 15-day suspension. You don't get paid, and the next step would be you're fired, like you're terminated. If she gets another violation against her, this woman, she's out the door. There's nobody. God himself can't save her. She's done with. But she keeps on making the same mistakes. But they said, well, they were so short-handed, and she thought it was ridiculous. The bosses said, well, we're so short-handed, which they wouldn't do for me, though, by the way. This is what I'm trying to state. That after 2 days of her suspension, they said, you can come back to work. We're going to put it in your paperwork that you got a 15-day suspension, but we're going to let you come back after 2 days. So the purpose of being out for 15 days, though, is that you're not getting paid for over 2 weeks. You're not getting anything. You're basically not getting a paycheck. So she only missed out on 2 days of her 15 days of not getting paid because they asked her to come back to work. And here's the real knee slapper. They also will allow her to get overtime, too, because they offered her overtime when I came back. They said, can you work tonight? So me, if I got a punishment, not only do they make it stick, they deactivate my badge. They do the whole 9 yards. For her, this woman, they reward her by giving her overtime and let her work any days. Because my friend told me also, they allowed her to pick any day she wanted for overtime. They gave her as much overtime as she wanted. So instead of her punishment for her was they allowed her to pick the day she wanted to come in, whenever she felt like coming in for overtime. And they rewarded her for what would be the step before getting fired. They rewarded her by giving her, again, overtime and shortening her 15-day suspension to 2 days, even though it was written. They're going to kind of bury that file, and they've been looking the other way every time she violates any rules or regulations. They follow me like a bloodhound. Like, I can't even, I hate to say this because I am going to put an explicit thing on this show tonight. I can't even take a fucking shit without them looking around the corner to make sure I'm not in the bathroom too long. And they looked the other way with this woman after she's made so many violations that they couldn't even hide them anymore. They gave her a 15-day suspension, and they overlooked that too and rewarded her on top of it. They've been trying to find ways to fire me. And it's just like right now they got themselves in so much hot water with me somehow. Well, no, they did. They really did. They got themselves in so much hot water. They're actually almost afraid to, do anything to me, but they still do. They still do try. They wrote me up 6 months after I got hurt on getting stuck on something and changed the story. They used basically not used. What they did was called slander by falsifying what happened because they weren't even there, and I could take it to any lawyer and sue the shit out of this place. But they try everything under the sun to still try to torment me and get rid of me, but yet somebody like this woman, they just look the other way over and over and over again. It's ridiculous. It's like a farce. So anyway, I said I was done with it. I am done with it now. Now, here's an article I saw tonight because I couldn't get a lot to open. I did line up a couple stories, not many. Now, for those people who like to go really fast on the turnpike, now I know Jersey already has this, but Jersey, actually, the drivers are much better. I hate to admit to this, are much better, with the exception of a few, than definitely Pennsylvania. But they said now, in the morning call, they said Pennsylvania Turnpike speed limit the limit is going to be risen to an average of 70 miles an hour, and on the interstates could follow soon too, they said. So, yeah, if you go on the turnpike, which I do use that, the average speed is going to be increased to now 70 miles an hour. So if you go, at 70, you're fine. And most people go like 90 anyway. Now, in Jersey, they actually do follow the rules, I think, a lot better. I can't say that for Pennsylvania. And plus, the roads are they're better constructed in Jersey, personally, than the ones in Pennsylvania. That's the other problem. So you're going to have more accidents by raising the speed limit to 70 now. I think it's just a way that they can't keep up on giving people tickets who deserve tickets. So the way they fix it is like everything else in our government. They don't fix the problem. They just basically buckle in to the people who are making these or doing these violations or these offenses. They change the law to favor the criminals, so to speak. Not that drivers are criminals, but they go, change the law to favor the criminals. So then it's no longer a crime. It's validated by, well, they can do that then. Like they buckle in, just like everything else, like I said. Which is no shock for Pennsylvania to do something like that, honestly. They could make a lot of money if they started ticketing the people who really deserve it. Probably another reason they did it is because they cut back on the police task force, too. Anyway, there was a story I saw. I found this one. I think I found this at work, and it was kind of entertaining, so to speak. It was from this website called, it's a radio station, 100.7 FM. And I don't know where it's located because it says WFLA. Not that that's going to tell me where it's from. But anyway, the article is titled, Family Livid After Homeowner Shoots and Kills a Teenage Burglar Suspect. So this kid broke into this person's home, and it was a woman, which I don't blame her. The woman of the house who was in this house, it says a 17-year-old, now get this, 17-year-old Trayvon Johnson was shot and killed by a 54-year-old homeowner when she saw him climbing out her window of her home. According to CBS, okay, so it's in Florida, Miami, the unidentified homeowner was alerted to a break-in by her home security system. So it was in her house, and now she's being prosecuted, not really, but she's being persecuted by the family members of this burglar, this kid who broke into her house, and their defense is, well, he was leaving the house. You shouldn't be able to shoot him until he got out the window. Then you should have been allowed that. You should have shot him then. It would have been okay. It was like, well, wait a minute. He illegally entered her home. She is a woman who is trying to defend herself. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. That's self-defense. That person broke into her house with the intentions of stealing things, and he was exiting the house. She called him and shot and killed him, and now it's her fault, according to the parents of this burglar. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. So I told you before, the victims now become the criminals, and the criminals become the victims. I've said this a million times. That just proves it, though. So I kept on putting up the same story, so just to make it pretty easy. Oh, wow, I didn't know this was... Somebody actually posted, this is something different. It's a Bela Lugosi personal-owned crucifix signed card it says R.P. Dracula, Boris Karloff, and it says Karloff Frankenstein. So it was, I guess, one they might have used in the films. And I didn't realize, I saw this on Facebook, by the way. Somebody posted it from one of my horror fan websites. These people have these fanzine websites on Facebook. I didn't realize, though, this is something you can actually purchase if you wish to own it from Boris Karloff on eBay. And I didn't realize, I'm looking at it now, you can buy it for $2,500. Is it $2,500 or is it $25,000? I'm trying to figure out where well, no, it's $2,500. That's a bit of money. I'm sorry. So, I love horror. I've said this before. I've said it a million times. Now, since I'm on the thing of horror, this is really funny. It's cool. I actually have a Friday the 13th, the franchise, Facebook fanzine website that I have linked on my Facebook. So they found some commercial, which they don't think they're going to get in too much trouble, but they did use the idea of Jason Voorhees with the hockey mask for a McDonald's commercial. And it says McDonald's, and it's titled The Chase. That's the name of the commercial. Now, they said it was a French commercial, and again, they're not sure if they're able to, I guess, who is it? Sean Cunningham, can he actually sue over this or not? But the whole premise is you got a character like Jason Voorhees. Instead of him chasing after these campground girls, it's reversed, where this character who's supposed to be like Jason Voorhees, but he's got a chainsaw instead too, because Jason Voorhees usually has a machete. He is being chased while carrying a chainsaw and a McDonald's bag of food. He's being chased down by two young, girls in the woods because they're trying to steal his McDonald's food. I swear this is what the video or the commercial is about. It's a real commercial. It's a French commercial, too. Even though the commercial, I watched it, you can watch the whole thing, is in English, they said it was a French commercial. Yeah, here it says something about French market for McDonald's. So, yeah, it was a French commercial. So that was pretty funny. I appreciate it. Now, here's something I'm not too happy about. Fox 29 News, you can make all the jokes you want. And what is this going to appeal to the most when I read the title? House votes to legalize medical marijuana in Pennsylvania. You're going to have every dope addict and every drug addict saying, well, I have ailments just to get their hands on legal marijuana. So I just think, our state of Pennsylvania is a mess to begin with. This is just one way to make it even worse by having, you already have enough riffraff in this state. And now this is just going to, I'm trying to think of the right word, emphasize on making it even more worse, in my opinion. We got enough drug addicts and dopes and deadbeats in this state. And most of them are probably on welfare. I've heard so many people complain even about people come in brand new BMWs or Mercedes-Benz. Like when I would go in the Wawa, the one manager, I would talk to this woman. She's the third shift manager. And she says, oh, yeah, I see these women come in. They're well-dressed. They come in a BMW or Mercedes-Benz, brand new, and they pull out their EBT card, their food stamp cards to buy the stuff in the store. Like they have no money. They're driving a brand new car and have brand new fucking clothes on. Sorry about that, folks. But, and they're living on welfare. They're living off of welfare. This is ridiculous. And now on top of it, you're increasing the speed limit. I'm looking at it again because they have a picture of it. Increasing the speed limit on the turnpikes to 70 miles an hour, and you're going to legalize marijuana. You're just giving... And I have to agree with the woman I was kind of mocking a little bit yesterday. I don't want to say mock, but the woman that I was talking about yesterday on yesterday's show, she even said right now, it's just like pretty soon, I heard this 20-some years ago when I first started college with my one sociology professor, where he tried to explain to people, if you don't vote out the wrong people now, he said this 20-some years ago when I was in college. This was at Monco College. It's going to get worse. And he said eventually what's going to happen is it's going to affect, you have right now what's called the lower middle class, the middle class, middle class, and the upper middle class. He said eventually they're all going to disappear. There's going to be none of those categories in the middle class. The middle class is just going to slowly, the upper middle class will eventually get into the upper class. The lower middle class will just get soaked up by the lower class. And the middle class won't exist anymore. So, and that's what's happening. And I think this woman even said that I was talking about yesterday from work. She said that the middle class is going to eventually just the way they are taxing the crap out of the middle class and making everything impossible for the middle class to survive. She even said that yesterday, and that's one thing we were on the same page about. The middle class is no longer going to exist because the lower class is getting everything silver spoon to them. The upper class is getting, they can survive. They can survive this. The middle class everyone in the middle class is going to die out. They're going to suffer. They're the ones suffering the most. Even with this insurance, this Affordable Health Care Act, it's killing everybody. So what do they do in Pennsylvania? They give more to the people who just don't want to work and are total deadbeats and losers. They get everything handed to them in a silver spoon, and now you're legalizing. You're going to probably say, well, how do you think they're going to get their hands on legal marijuana? Trust me, if they're getting food stamps and they can drive a brand new $50,000, $60,000 car, they're certainly going to find a way to get their a doctor to sign them out a note for marijuana. It's just going to, and then they can drive, if they go on the turnpike, they can drive 70 miles an hour while they're smoking pot. It's going to be great. I'm sorry. I mean, some people are probably saying, Walter, you are totally nuts. Well, I know that for a fact. But, it's just, it's like a joke. It is truly, I've said this before, it is a complete farce what's going on in our country, and especially in this state. It's horrible the way it's just falling apart. And everybody says, well, everything is so much better with Obama. It's horrible. The last 8 years have been a disaster area. There's been more people out of work than ever before. So, and I have to encourage people, and I hope they vote the correct way. But when it comes to April 26th, I think I said, I hope people don't forget to, cast their ballots on this, the primary, and on April 26th. I forget what I said. I think I said it right, but it was April 26th. It's on a Tuesday. Because otherwise, we're going to have another 8 years of hell if we get Hillary. I'm sorry. Anyway, on a lighter note, because I got to get this done. It's getting late again. I'll be not going to bed until 5 in the morning probably. But I did watch today because I remember it was on. It was excellent. That's the one thing I actually enjoy. I know I spend too much time watching TV shows and movies, according to Matt. But, Matt, I said your name, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to guess about it. And you're probably right. I mean, but I was off for 6 months, dude, so I'm speaking directly to Matt there if you're listening to this. But one of the things, honestly, the podcasts do take up a lot of my time when I do them. I've been trying to help around the house, cleaning and dusting for my parents, getting things straightened up. There was things that were broken in the house. Like, for instance, I bought out of my own pocket, online from Amazon. My mom didn't tell me at first. She tells me the day before I go back to work. She says, "Oh yeah, the remote control on our cable TV, the one she has. We all of us, I should say, we all. That's not proper diction or whatever. My father has his own cable box in his room, and he has his own remote control. My mom has her own TV set and her own remote control. I have mine. So my mother tells me the day before I go back to work, that night, she says, yeah, the remote control hasn't been working right properly lately, and it's no big deal. I can deal with it and everything like that. It was like, why didn't you tell me this before? So I went online. We have Verizon Fios. I found one on Amazon Prime. I bought her a new remote control. She's like happier than pigs, and both my dad, because her watched the main TV set in the house himself. And they were happier than pigs in shit because I ordered a new remote control. I got it on Amazon Prime. It was like $19. And it's better than going through Verizon. They're going to charge you. If you say, I broke your equipment, they're going to charge you to replace it. If it's by age that it broke, then that's a different story. But if you tell me, we broke your remote. I mean, the thing was, they're going to find a reason to charge you. Because I remember I had extra equipment laying around from Verizon Fios. And I was being the good Samaritan. I returned it. Guess what they do? They taxed it on my dad's bill for the next month for returning equipment we weren't using. They charged him for that. It's like, well, we're not using it anymore. Why are you charging for us returning stuff? I could have kept it. I had it in the closet for like a couple years. This cable box, as I updated my cable box from the standard cable box in my room to a digital box, and they charge me for returning their equipment. It's like, why you charge me? I'm returning. You should actually give us money back for returning your goddamn... Oh, I'm sorry about that. I mean that. Using God's name in vain. But it really just got me angry, folks. So you can't even be honest about things because you get slapped in the face for even that. So anyway, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm installing some software update. Not a very good time to do it for my Office program on... Oh, wait. Actually, install later. Forgot. It's an update for an older version of Office. So, anyway, what I was ready to say, though, before I got in this long story about that, on nonsense, was that I was actually watching this show. I really enjoy it, too. It's Supergirl, because I got it on my Apple TV box. I ordered it for the season. Apparently, there's only 2 more episodes, I think, or 4 more episodes left of the season. It actually went a lot longer than they intended it to. And by the way, The Punisher will be coming back. If you're like me and you have that Netflix streaming, that is actually going to come back in the next week or 2, I think, the new second season. That's really cool. I know, Matt, I'm talking too much about TV shows and movies. But Supergirl is one I really love. I mean, it's just been really cool from the first episode. And I was a little leery at first, like, okay, this one's not going to be that good. But if you're a big fan of, like, Superman, like I am, growing up, loved George Reeves. Watched it when I was a kid. I watched all the George Reeves episodes because I actually bought all the seasons when they came out on DVD. And then I loved Christopher Reeves, like with Superman. Superman 2 was excellent. Superman 3 was okay. But I think it was Superman 3 or 4 where they did that thing where... Because they took this and they put it in Supergirl. And it was actually in that show called Smallville, too, also, where Superman has different reactions to different types of kryptonite. From the comic books they got this from. Because Supergirl is like the closest thing you will get to the comics. Smallville was not even that close. Supergirl is like pretty much on the money on like taking things right from the comic books. Smallville never really did that. They made it more of like a soap opera. And after a while, it got really boring. So anyway, they did one on the red kryptonite, which they actually, I think they did do something like that in the Superman movie. I know they did that on Smallville. Now, there's green kryptonite, which will kill Superman. I think there is another type of kryptonite. I forget, but there's definitely a red kryptonite. And what red kryptonite does, it alters his ego. Or not his ego, I'm sorry. It alters his personality. Like, remember that one where they made artificial kryptonite, I think it was, and it basically turned Superman. It was the one with Christopher Reeves. It basically kind of turned him into an evil Superman, or kind of like Bizarro. And remember, like, it was that one with Richard Pryor. That might have been Superman 3, where Christopher Reeve actually becomes like an evil alter ego. Well, they did that kind of with Supergirl on this episode, which was with the red kryptonite. It was man-made again. They incorporated by it was man-made. And what happened, though, it did change her, but do you remember that? If you ever watched it, I think that was the one. I think it was the one with Richard Pryor, where he's like in a bar, Christopher Reeve, and he's like really dark and sinister, Superman, because he changes. And he's like, he pours, and I saw this in Supergirl. They took that scene and they used it again in Supergirl, where she's doing the same thing. Where he poured, I think, peanuts, like those peanuts, or not peanuts. Is it peanuts? You know, nuts you get at a bar when you drink, when you're at the bar. And he's like got these nuts, and he's like flinging them with his finger, and he's breaking bottles, the glass bottles, by flinging them because he's got all that strength. Well, she does the same thing. Like they followed that premise on Supergirl. It was like, yeah, I remember that from the Superman movie. So they incorporated that. All the superheroes, though, are all from the comic books. So that's what makes it so cool. And they used every perspective now and all the Supergirls. which makes it much better. And I think they're actually mocking some of these other shows. I think Supergirl, personally, The Flash is really good too. Don't get me wrong. I have really never got into Green Arrow. I know a lot of people did. I've read some article, there's that other one, Superhero, where they go through time travel, and The Legends of Tomorrow, I think it's called, and they actually mocked that one. They said that one is like the worst of all the superhero shows. That's like the one on the bottom of the list, or the bottom of the barrel. But honestly, I love The Flash, and then I kind of lost interest a little bit because of the season break. And then I tried to watch like Green Arrow, and I thought it was all right. I think, personally, I thought Flash was much, much, much better. But out of all the superhero shows I've seen so far, because there is a lot of them on the networks right now, they're like the big thing, Supergirl is the best show of them all. And I just don't understand, like, people who like superhero shows. And one thing I've noticed, though, with this last episode, I think they're almost they will be doing that. Like, they want to incorporate Superman going into Supergirl's world. But even then, the fact that now with Supergirl, with the red kryptonite kind of incorporated into the Christopher Reeve movies, they're actually trying to, like, bend Supergirl, the TV series it's on, I forget which network, it says CBS. They're actually trying to incorporate it into the film world of DC Comics as well. Now, The Flash and everything, I'm not sure. I guess that is DC then. But most of the shows that are on the network, on the CW and CBS, honestly, are all the DC comic superheroes. And some of those shows are all right, but if I had to pick one, which I have at this point, it would definitely be Supergirl. And I think the actress who plays that character, she's given it a lot of justice. She's really taken it. I mean, she got so dark, the character of Supergirl. She actually went, and she got so dark in this episode, she actually was wearing a villains from Krypton's outfit, like the what do you call it? The criminals from Krypton that had the same powers as Superman. Like, there's a group of them. She actually started wearing their outfit, like she had that same feel that Christopher Reeve gave the character years ago, which was really a disturbing movie. That was Superman 3, I think, when he became so dark, where he just didn't give a crap about anybody or anyone. And it actually, this is what I was trying to think of, where it incorporates into, probably makes you think about that movie of Batman versus Superman, because they incorporate in at least the commercials that, referring to Superman as a false god, I think, in the commercials, at least they try to incorporate that. And, somebody who has godlike powers, not saying he is God, but who has godlike powers. Now, you got to remember who made Superman originally. Those two guys, they were Jewish. So a lot of that stuff is in the belief in Judaism for Superman. I don't know, but that part I vaguely remember. So, which it does incorporate religion into the character of Superman, believe it or not, from the guys who originally made the character. So, but they, if that godlike character, they incorporated this in, obviously, a little bit, like if you put all your trust in somebody who could basically crush you like a bug, or who has that much powers, if he was a fallen god or a fallen hero, basically what they incorporated in the Batman versus Superman commercials that will be coming out in a week or two, that, that would be the end of mankind on this planet. And they obviously incorporated that with the Superman 3 movie, even though it was a horrible movie, I understand, it did incorporate that. And Supergirl did a very good job. That's where the transition went from this just being an average superhero TV show to actually showing you something more that made it really scary. It kind of, like, for this fantasy world, is, Matt would say, Matt, you would say this, that, this is all fictional. But for, that suspension of disbelief on this show, that really just incorporated something. Okay, you got somebody, and you can actually incorporate this into people who have that much power in real life, not that they can bend steel with their bare hands, but who have powers even with nuclear weapons. And I think it sent tears in my eyes, because you think about it, when you have somebody with so much power, now again, I'm incorporating into what's happening with these other countries. When you have one person with all this power, how they can easily, if they have the wrong, if they easily fall off their pedestal, because in the beginning of that episode of Supergirl, which was probably, they get better every week. I'm just getting choked up thinking about it. You have this one person that everybody looks up to as a hero. I don't care if it's just I'm going out of the realms of just being a superhero. Like a person in real life you look up to, you put so much trust into them. Just say, for instance, this is the only way I can relate it to people so that I know what I'm talking about. Say that people are right about Donald Trump, and they're putting all their trust into Donald Trump. What if he does go and his intentions are truly dark? Think about that. When I'm thinking of watching a Supergirl, it was literally get me choked up, because I never thought of it that way. That if you have somebody who has, that everyone has, and look at it, President Obama is an excellent example of that. You put so much trust into that one person as being your savior, because they thought of that with President Obama, and you put your faith into that person. And I'm talking beyond the thing of religiously, but you put your faith, your trust in that person, and they turn on you like they did in this episode of Supergirl, you're doomed. Everyone is doomed. And, you can take that again away from just Supergirl, but that's the one thing about Supergirl I really like. It does incorporate, the fantasy part, obviously. But that episode of the Red Kryptonite goes beyond just being an average comic book movie. It does come right out of the comic books. But the darkness of that character, somebody who is, sweet, wholesome, and everything, and basically has so much power, this person, this Kara, or, Supergirl, has so much power. If something would happen, you got to be careful on who you trust, I guess, because that person, if they do have a turnabout on their emotions or the way they think, that person can become very dangerous with that much power. Now, you're probably saying, well, that's different. That's just a comic book movie or TV show. Yeah, it is. But think of what I just said. If you give somebody, what was that thing from Star Trek one time too? That Khan says, I can't remember. My one friend always mentioned it, Todd. Something about absolute power, absolute corruption, or something like that. I know I got it totally fucked up. But the point is, you give somebody that much strength and that much power. I don't care if it's theoretically or for real, which can be actually transcribed into real life. That much power, and they turn, or if their intentions are pure evil, which that's what happened in this episode again with Supergirl, it could really happen in real life. We're all gonna pay the price by trusting the wrong person. So that was a very powerful episode. Again, that's like one of the shows I actually definitely highly recommend to begin with. But that was beyond scary, trust me, folks. So anyway, that being said, I think that would be a good time for me to end, because I could find other stories and be up until 6 o'clock in the morning, but I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I hope you are listening. And if you are listening to me and you kind of enjoy what I'm saying or make sense out of what I'm saying, please just try to get other people to also tune into the iWalter show. So that being said, I am signing off. Have a good Thursday morning, and I will try to see what I can do another show. At this point, I honestly don't know when, because I got to get things done for my job. So thanks again if you are listening. And again, if you are listening, try to get other people to tune in again. This is Walter from iWalter. I am signing off for now. Thank you for listening.